Okay, hello and welcome back to my channel and welcome to PJs and Crochet. Today I am just wearing some like a neon pink, and then I actually have on some ghost like fall pajama bottoms, but I love PJs and I love crochet, and so I was like, why don't we do a segment where we combine those things together and we can do a PJ and crochet chat. So basically what I want to do is just be able to sit, chat with you, you work on your project, I work on my project. If it's not crochet, obviously it could be knitting, it could be sewing, it could be coloring, it could be whatever you like to do, diamond art. There's lots of different ways to be creative and craft and be able to do it together. So that is what I want these segments to be. So I am filming this in the morning time, so I'm having my coffee, but whatever you are drinking with you, um, bring that with your project and we will go ahead and get started. So what I am working on right now is a blanket for my dad, and this is how many granny squares I have completed so far. So we live in Tennessee, we cheer on the Tennessee Vols, and I am making him an orange and white checkered, like UT orange and white checkered blanket for his birthday, which is actually tomorrow. So I'm hoping that we're going to celebrate his birthday like later this weekend. Tomorrow is Thursday, so I'm hoping that we don't celebrate until like Sunday. That gives me a lot more time to do all of the white because, as you can see, I have a lot of orange, not a lot of white. So we are going to be finishing up our orange part this morning. So I have thought about filming like a little tutorial on this, but it is obviously not hard at all. It is literally just granny squares that I'm going to stitch together in a pattern to make it checkered. But I thought it might be fun to film just for people like myself who are more like novice, beginner, intermittent, I keep saying intermittent, intermediate crocheters. But anyways, the yarn that I am using is just from Hobby Lobby. It's the Crafter Secret Big Idea yarn, like the really big yarn you can get. And I am just using that. And I'm actually using a 9mm crochet hook just to try to get these to work up a little bit faster because what had happened was is that I had started on this blanket a while ago and I've never had a problem. I've heard people talk about different how like you can have a skein of yarn and if there's different dye lots that the colors can look vastly different. I've never had a problem with that. And that happened to me for the first time where I had bought a skein of the Crafter Secret Big Idea orange yarn and worked that up, started putting the blanket together and everything, and then bought another skein and I was like, these are so different. I can't even put these together. Like there's no way I can put this in the same blanket. And so basically I am having to start over because I had already put together that other one. So, or started putting it together because obviously it's only like a third or a fourth of the way done. Because, yeah, it was not my brightest idea, but I'm trying to make sure you can see me. Oh, crochet on here. But, anyways, my idea behind this is just for us to be able to have time to, again, work on our projects together, chat in the comments. I feel like I obviously have just started my channel and I do not have a lot of subscribers. So doing a live doesn't really make sense because obviously there wouldn't really be anybody on it and I would just be sitting there talking to myself anyways. So I figure it's better to film it like this and that way we can just sit down and chat and have a good time. So I thought that today I might answer some questions. I looked up some like crochet questions and I thought that I might answer those while we went along and while I worked on one of these squares. But also, I was going to say that I love watching YouTube. I've been watching YouTube since I was like in high school. And it is so different, like watching something and then actually like doing it yourself. Like it gives me so much perspective and appreciation for the people that I like to watch because it is not easy actually to like get on and like film videos and edit them and upload. Like obviously it's a time consuming process, but it's also like just to be able to have like the creative ideas and keep them flowing and all of that. Like it gives you so much perspective, you know, on some of your favorite people that you like to watch. But sorry, I'm trying to count up how many that was. Let me know what you all are up to today, what your plans for the day are. And I'm going to go ahead and try to think of some of the questions because I was looking it up on my phone, but I actually need my phone to be able to film. So I can't really look them up, but I'm going to try to remember what I was looking up. So I think the first question that I remember seeing was, how did you get into crochet? Like what brought you into crochet? And for me, we actually went on a Girl Scouts trip to Dollywood. And this was obviously whenever I was probably like between 8 and 10, I would think, at the time. And so we went on this trip to Dollywood, and part of the experience of the day for this Girl Scouts trip was that we worked on these pot holders, and we crocheted pot holders. And we didn't crochet with like necessarily a yarn. It was more of like a fabric that they had put into a ball, and then you crocheted with that. But it was so much fun. I loved it so much, and I literally went home and I would like undo it and redo it just because I wanted to be able to do that more. I just love that kind of stuff, you know. And that was really what got me into it. And then I actually didn't have anybody in my life who was like an avid crocheter who could help me learn and get into other projects. So I put it down for a while. And then my parents, I had convinced them to buy me this crochet book. And so it was all about different crochet patterns. And it came with a few hooks and some different supplies that you might need, like stitch holders, things like that. And I could not pick it up that way. Like seeing a written pattern just did not work for me. And so I ended up getting really frustrated, put crochet back down for a while, and then in high school found YouTube tutorials on crochet. And that is all that I have learned off of is YouTube tutorials. Because like I said, I don't have anybody in my life, in my personal circle, who crochet avidly, who could help me. So I've literally just looked at YouTube videos, and from there have been able to make, you know, obviously as simple things as washcloths, and then worked up into like scarves and blankets, and I've made a purse and bookmarks, and you know, just trying to expand from there. So that is kind of how I got into it. And YouTube is just so amazing because you can learn so much. And I think crochet is really great for people who have like possible ADHD stuff going on. I have never pursued an official diagnosis myself. I'm a mental health therapist for kids, so obviously I deal with ADHD a lot at work. But my sister has gotten an official diagnosis, and my dad definitely has some ADHD qualities too. So I think if you have those, you know, ADHD type tendencies, if your brain works that way, then obviously doing something that you can hyperfixate on that's like a repetitive is so good for you, especially like just being able to like watch TV and crochet at the same time or things like that is so nice. So anyways, that's kind of how I got into it. And from there, have had times, obviously, like a lot of hobbies, where you have a little bit more time for it or a little bit less time. And just kind of love doing projects as I can. I have a baby. He's actually a toddler now, but he just turned 17 months. And after he was born, crochet was really a great like stress reliever for me, and just a way to, not that he was stressing me out, but obviously just, you know, when your baby is sleeping and stuff, crochet, reading, things like that are just nice to be able to do. So um, kind of like really, really picked it up more avidly. I would say before that I did a few projects a year, but since then have really been investing a lot more time into it and just love it, which is kind of sad in another way because I feel like I've slacked off on reading. Like I used to read so much, but I think that it's more so like crochet, you can kind of focus on other things at the same time, depending on what you're doing, of course. And so it's easy to do a more repetitive pattern and still be able to engage with him or things like that. So I think that's why it's a little bit easier for me right now than reading. Whereas reading, you kind of have to obviously be able to focus more on, so it's not something you can do safely, like while obviously you're watching your child and things. So that is kind of how crochet has blossomed for me. I would love to know your story and like how you started crocheting. Like, did you have a family member that taught you, or, how did you learn? I would love to know. But I'm really grateful for YouTube and all of the tutorials that I have been able to watch because obviously that is what has helped me be able to crochet. So I will say, if you haven't already picked up on it, obviously I'm sure I do things not necessarily the right way. I know one day I was at work and we were in a meeting, like a staffing, and I remember there was a girl in there who crochets, and she was like, "You hold your hook really weird." I was like, "That is fair. That is probably fair. This is the way that I taught myself how to do it." So I'm sure there's a lot of things I don't necessarily do it the right way, but that is also kind of why I am passionate about having crochet on my YouTube channel and stuff, is just to be able to encourage other people who maybe are like me and kind of are more YouTube tutorial taught or self taught or whatever. That it's really about like, I think obviously I've gotten a lot better at crochet over the years, but it's not so much about doing things the quote unquote right way, but it's just about like being creative and doing something that brings you joy. And as long as it all comes together and it brings you joy, that is what matters. I think I've also become a lot more lax here lately with understanding that like I can alter patterns as I need to. I think whenever I first started watching tutorials and stuff, I felt like I had to very much stay within like whatever the pattern was. Like if they said chain 4, I was chaining 4. If they said chain 6, I was chaining 6. And I think here more recently, I have learned a little bit more creative freedom of like a pattern or tutorial is great, but a lot of people will even tell you in those like, hey, alter this as you need to. Like if you're someone who, when you're making granny squares, chains 1, do that. If you're someone who chains 2, do that. And so that is, it's just little things like that that I feel like I have a little bit more creative, I guess, authority over, like creative, just feeling like I can kind of do my own thing a little bit more. But that is how that is going. But for this particular granny square project, not chaining, I am doing 7 rows. So keeping them consistent with 7 rows each. And then today I need to go to Hobby Lobby and buy some white yarn so that I can also do all of those squares. And then I think I'm going to join them together with the orange yarn. I just prefer that look, and I'm probably going to join them in the back, like make that more of like the back of the project. I don't know, we'll see. But anyways, this is a question I've just kind of thought of randomly, but what is your favorite kind of project to make? Mine is definitely blankets. Like, I don't know, there's just something about a big project like that that A, feels so satisfying to finish, but feels like it's enough of a commitment that it just it feels exciting. I also love making other things too, but I definitely think blankets are my favorite thing to make. Let me know what your favorite thing to make are. I recently made, for Father's Day, for my husband and my dad, I made coasters that were like Tennessee colors, and it had the Power T on it. And I found a tutorial on YouTube for free tutorial of a lady who was explaining it very, very well. And it was a graph pattern. That was the first graph I had ever done, and the first time I had ever had to carry yarn. So, like, obviously, carrying your white while you're working on the orange, or carrying your orange while you're working on the white. That was my first time doing that. And that is surprisingly difficult. But I did it. Definitely think there's a lot to learn from that. But I kind of want to use that same pattern and put that onto like a scarf or something. I think that would be really pretty. I want to make some more coasters for myself for our house as well. But let me know what projects that you are looking forward to working on. Trying to remember the other questions that I saw on there. How did you start crocheting? What is your favorite hook size or brand is another question that I saw. Obviously, like I said, I am not like a super, how do you say that? I'm not an expert level crocheter, and I don't have a ton of fancy hooks. Like this hook that I'm using right now is just an aluminum hook from Hobby Lobby. I got this for less than $2. And I love that places like Hobby Lobby have so many great options, because I feel like they have so many options of like really nice hooks, but then they have really affordable hooks too, for people who maybe are just learning or who lose their hooks a lot, like me, or different things like that. But I prefer I do not prefer, I think it's the Boye brand, however you pronounce that. They have some plastic hooks that you can get from Walmart, and they are just not very good quality. I have to use them for some projects because of particular hook size that I need or things like that. But they just feel like they are so flimsy and about to break. I've already broken one of them. And I think I've had to buy those packs like more than once just because Walmart is so easy to go to and grab something if you need a hook in a pinch or something like that. But don't prefer the plastic hooks. Definitely prefer either aluminum or like the really good quality. I guess they're still plastic, but they're not like a flimsy plastic um, hook. I do not have clover hooks. I don't have tulip hooks. I don't have any like fancy hooks like that, although I do want to try a clover hook. But let me know what you think about this. I'm wondering, my favorite hooks right now are from Hobby Lobby. I wish I had one over here with me, but they have like almost like a silicone grippy for the handle, and then they're like a really durable like plastic for the actual like hook part. And I'm wondering if they are not necessarily dupes for clover hooks, but I'm wondering if they're like a little bit similar. I don't know. If you have tried those, let me know. But I really love that they have like the silicone or grippy kind of part to them, gummy grippy part, because it just makes it really easy to hold on to your hook that way. So let me know what your thoughts are on that. But those are my favorite hooks. And as far as size goes, I feel like for a smaller project, maybe a 5.5 or 6.5. And then for a bigger project, I would prefer probably like a 9 or a 12. If it's a super, super thick yarn, maybe a 15. I don't prefer projects that you need like really tiny little hooks for, although I really do want to make some doilies for the kitchen table, like for kind of like a placemat setting for each place. And I think that obviously doing like a really thin, delicate yarn for that would be beautiful. I think that would be really cute. And then favorite kind of yarn or favorite like weight of yarn. I am not opposed, obviously, to acrylic yarn. I'm using acrylic yarn right now. I think cotton can be also very nice depending on the project. So I guess that's not really an answer. Kind of like the hook discussion. Like, I think there's a time and a place, obviously, for different kinds of yarn. I will tell you that I have been working with I don't mean to keep bringing them up specifically, but the Hobby Lobby, it's I love this yarn sport weight. It is a more delicate, thinner yarn, and it has been so much fun to work with. I actually really like that yarn. But I really love, obviously, again, all sorts of yarn for all sorts of things. I think a really nice yarn for a wearable is the Karen cakes, that are so popular for making like hexagon cardigans with. I have started on one, have not finished it, but that yarn is so nice. Like it feels so good whenever you're like touching it. It just feels like so bougie, I guess you would say. Um, Very, very nice. But I definitely think there is a time and a place for acrylic. And I think that that can be a really great, especially starting place, and then also just if you need a more affordable project, obviously acrylic is the way to go. And then I know they also make some blends, with like different things. I have not worked a lot with like bamboo or like hand dyed, especially wool. I've never worked with like any sort of a wool project, but I know a lot of people do love using those and working with those. Let me know what your favorite thing to do while you crochet is as well. I like to listen to like true crime, watch Dateline, 2020, 48 Hours, like that kind of stuff. Um, and then crochet videos or just different kind of videos on YouTube. I love watching like crochet videos. I love watching like day in the life vlogs, especially like moms, because obviously I myself am a mom, and so it just feels like really relatable stuff. I also love watching like Walmart hauls or, just I guess there's like a lot of random things that I love to watch that I get really hooked into, or if there's a good documentary that I find on YouTube, I like watching those as well. And the series that I am really into right now is also Below Deck Mediterranean, started a new season. And there's just something about Below Deck. I just love those shows. The original, the Mediterranean version, and Down Under. Like, I just love Below Deck. It's so good. I was trying to think if there was another question from that. Oh, your favorite project that you've ever made. And obviously, our projects, they hold so many memories of different times for us. And for me, my favorite projects that I've ever made are definitely the baby blankets that I made for my son whenever I was pregnant. Whenever I had first found out I was pregnant, I made one that was teal because I didn't know if I was having a boy or a girl. And then once I knew that I was having a boy, I got some of the Bernat blanket ombre yarn, and it's a white, I think the color is teal, but it's like a white yarn that fades into like a pretty deep blue. Maybe it wasn't teal. I can't remember, but I think it was. But anyway, and I've made a baby blanket out of that for my son that we took pictures on. I made one for my sister when she was pregnant with my nephew. I made one for my sister-in-law when she was pregnant with my other nephew. And then I made one for my best friend's baby that she was pregnant with at the same time that I was pregnant. She actually has 5 babies now. That was her 5th. But she's an expert mama. She has expert level for sure. But anyway, that is definitely my most special or most favorite project that I've ever done. Also, some different things. I had started on a blanket for my mamaw, but I don't know if I ever had been able to give that to her before she passed away. That was really special to me. And then, just things like that. But here recently, my favorite project that I've made recently, oh, I feel like I should have thought about this more. I made a granny square, but I made it out of like a thick, soft, like baby blanket yarn. And it was for my cousin and his wife. They're having a baby girl. And it was a daisy granny square blanket. And I did like a frilly edge to it. I don't know if I can pop in a picture or not. I don't know how to do that, but if I can pop in a picture, I will. And I really loved that blanket that I made. I also made a purse a few years ago that I really like. Oh, and I made my dad a camper. I actually have another one I want to do this fall because I bought 2 of them and I didn't get to do mine yet. But you have to follow like the written pattern, and then they also have a link to the free YouTube tutorial But I got that maybe at Michael's or at Hobby Lobby. I think it might have been at Michael's. But anyways, that like little camper is so cute. I love that. And like I said, I got two, but I haven't made mine yet. I also really want to start making some earrings. And then I also made myself two Bible covers for the summer for my Bibles that I found a YouTube tutorial from this girl I love. Her name's Bailey Robertson, and I love her videos. And I made two Bible covers out of that, and then I'm working on one for my sister because she wanted one, but it's kind of hard because I don't have her Bible with me, so with dimensions and stuff. I would say that Bible cover has been the thing that I've taken the most creative liberty on, like that I was the most like letting myself alter the pattern as needed with, which I'm really proud of, because obviously for your Bible covers, like it's just kind of like making a wearable. It is just so unique to the person and like what each person, needs and whatnot. So let's see, I'm going to finish this round and then we're going to see how many we have left that we need for this square. 1, 2, 3. It is summertime right now. It's June, but today it's like a little bit misty and almost like fall like right now outside. Obviously, I know it's going to get hot later today, but oh, I forgot to count how many rows we've done. Okay, let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're starting our 6th row. And like I said, I'm doing 7. So I'm probably just going to finish up this granny square with you guys, do the ends, and then we will wrap up. So we still have a little bit of time together. Trying to make these like long enough that you could sit down and work on a crochet project, but not so long that you're like, okay, like I gotta go. So let me know what kind of time frame you guys would like. I don't want to make super long videos that nobody watches, but at the same time, really this is for me, right? Like this is about like what brings me joy, and I hope that brings other people joy. But I think that one of the things for YouTube is like do it for yourself and because you enjoy it, and then naturally people will, find it that also enjoy it, is kind of the hope, I guess. Who knows? We'll see. But I am also using this mic. I got these mics for our gender reveal party, and I had people tell us like what they thought, all of our friends and family, what they thought our baby was going to be. It was really fun. But I need to put all of that together into a video for my son to be able to like look back on. There's so many things, that I need to do. Also, let me know if you are a mama. Do you feel like whenever you had your first baby, if you have, I have a few questions. If you have multiple kids, I would love to know, like, what do you think was the easiest transition and what do you think was the hardest? Like, do you think going from 0 to 1, 1 to 2, like, what was the easiest and what was the hardest transition? And then also, do you feel like that as you became a mom, things became harder to juggle, like in terms of like keeping up with your housework and if you work, like managing job life and trying to navigate like being a mom and all of those responsibilities? Like, let me know, because I feel like that I definitely have struggled with time management more since having my son. It's something I've talked to my husband about a lot, is like wanting to be so much more on top of things than I am. And I think that I was already pretty squirrely before we had Brew, but I think that like since having him, I have noticed like it's very, very hard for me to focus on one thing at a time. And I really don't I'm really not a big fan of the idea of going on medication, but it's something I have thought about if I need to for focus and stuff. But I'm trying to manage it with just things that I would tell my kids at work, like, okay, do we need visual charts? Do we need reminders? Do we need lists? like what will help me the most, with being able to manage my time well and efficiently, and also show up for my family and spend time with them and not be so chaotic. But that is the theme of my life. I feel like I am just very chaotic all over the place. And so it just is a little bit challenging, I guess, to navigate. I think I've gotten a little bit better with it, especially as my son, like I said, he's 17 months now. So he is obviously not able to be like independent necessarily, but we try to balance because he is an only child. So we try to balance like playing with him every day, but then also giving him some independent playtime every day because both of those things are so important. And so, yeah, let me know if you noticed that like postpartum after you had your baby, like do you feel like it was harder for you to like get things done or not so much? I think that when he was younger, I'm glad that I took a lot of time to snuggle him and read and crochet and do all of that stuff. But I definitely think that I was overwhelmed just even with that because I was pumping. And so it was like, I would feed him a bottle because up until 3 months, that's when we got his tongue and lip ties released. And so he struggled more with breastfeeding before 3 months. So I would get up, make him a bottle, feed him my breast milk. Then I would put him down. He would go back to sleep. And then I would have to pump, sanitize all of my pump parts each time. Like it was just a lot. Um, and so then we would go back to sleep, have to wake up and, however long, because it was every 3 hours and do it all again. And so I think that I felt just overwhelmed with all of that in the beginning. But then as he got bigger, obviously that, got less challenging. But then the more challenging thing was like trying to make sure that he was safe and, you know, um, crawling around and how it is, just baby proofing everything, and which obviously we have, but they definitely start to get, now he's more at the independent stage. Like we are exploring the word no. He's like the cutest guy, but we are exploring the word no, obviously, and just even like when he wants something, sometimes it's like, do you want to go do this? No. But he does, but he's just like, no. But anyways, he's so sweet. But he is like kind of running everywhere. The other day we were getting ready for church and I could hear him coming down the hallway and he was running and he goes, Mama, and he like came into where I was and just wanted to play where I was. My husband had been watching him and he was like, where's my mama? So sweet. He's just at such a fun age and he loves to like wrestle with my husband now, and he's learning so many words. You know how that is. I feel like they just start to explode with their language. Like there's just like this big explosion of like all of a sudden he can say all of these things. But I will say he had started saying up, and so I realized that sometimes he is saying up, but sometimes he's trying to say help. And at first he couldn't say, like, obviously help. So he would say, ep, ep. And now he'll say, hip, hip. So sweet. So whenever he's like, hip, I'm like, okay, hold on, I'll help you. But just super, super sweet season of life. And just trying to balance all of those things because it's one of those seasons where it's like multiple things, of course, can be true at once, right? Like we can be so grateful for this season and soak it in as much as we can and just really try to like be intentional about that, taking a step back, playing every day, like all of that. And at the same time, it can also be a situation. Hold on. Oh, it's still green. Okay. I didn't know if it was dying. It can also be a situation where it can sometimes feel very chaotic and overwhelming and like just a very, you know, all over the place season because it is. And that's such a fun thing. And it's also okay to feel overwhelmed sometimes too. One of those things where it's like you're going to look back and be like, those were the days. But I already feel that way even in this season. I'm like, these are the days. I love it. He also has started liking a lot more like characters and stuff. So Toy Story, obviously Mickey Mouse, and now he's also into Moana as well. And I saw obviously Toy Story 5, is um, out already, right? But anyways, I saw something that was like, I used to be Andy and now I'm Andy's mom. And that just like hit me, and it had like the music with it. And it was like, when somebody loves me. I can't sing, but anyway, I was like, so like losing it about it. I was like, oh my gosh, so true. We used to be that generation, and now we are the moms, or the people my age, I guess. But I'm also turning 30 next month, which is wild because in my head, I'm like 17. I don't know if anybody else feels that way, but I'm like, I am a baby. Like, what are you talking about? But I am, in fact, not. I am going to be 30, which feels like a big milestone. And one of my friends turns 30 2 days after me. And so we're trying to decide what we want to do. Sorry if you hear the dogs barking in the background. But anyways, we're trying to decide what we want to do for to celebrate our 30th birthdays. Trying to get this wrapped up. Trying not to make this video too long. But yeah, I just wanted to start this segment of PJs and crochet because I just think that's really fun, to be able to put on our PJs, pull out a project, and work on it. Also, tell me, what kind of projects are you working on currently? Do you have multiple whips? Do you just like to work on one thing at a time? Like, what's your favorites? I have, of course, multiple things going at once because that is how I am. So I currently am working on a run, like a table runner for football season. It's going to be checkered. And then obviously I'm working on this blanket for my dad. I haven't started it. I've kind of started it, but my mom wants me to make kind of like what I made for my cousin in the baby blanket form for an adult blanket for her birthday in July. So that is going to be a blanket project that I'm working on. Then I have 2 hexagon cardigans that I have also been working on, and then my sister's Bible cover. I think that might be all of the current works in progress. Let me know what you are currently working on. I'm going to make a game day like crochet vlog, I think, where I've already started filming it, but where I kind of make a few different game day projects and give just some ideas. Not that people need ideas, but I feel like it would be really easy to take the colors for Tennessee and replace them with whatever football team people like or things like that. But where we live, football is a really big deal, and we love watching, and I'm so excited for our son to be able to watch football this season, because last season he was still little, which is it was so cute too. But this season I think that he's gonna be able to like see my husband cheering them on, and he's gonna be like, yeah, like he's gonna be so excited. So I am really excited to see that. But that is what is on the horizon. Trying to also figure out like a posting schedule. um, just trying to be intentional, because I think it's one of those things where it's like if you're not intentional, then it's just obviously hard to keep on a schedule. So I'm trying to decide like what day of the week I want to post things. In an ideal world, I would post like multiple times a week, but I'm kind of like, is that realistic with my current situation, working full time, and then also um, just obviously being a mom and a wife and having responsibility. Sorry, I keep. I am clearly not good at trying to show you as I'm working. This is not easy to do, to try to like talk and crochet and think of things to say next and all of that, but this is fun. I'm learning as I go. That is what is important. Learning as we go. Like anything in life, right? Gotta learn before we get there. But let me know what your plans are for today. I think I'm almost done here. Got one more side after this, and then we will weave in our ends and wrap up for today's crochet session. I so appreciate you guys if you have made it this far. I so appreciate you watching to this point. This has definitely been a dream for me to like do YouTube videos for a long time. I do kind of feel like I missed my prime on it. I was telling my husband that last night because in high school and college, like I just had obviously more time, but also just like a lot of ideas for like makeup videos or, story time videos or just different things that I feel like I was more in my prime then. Not, I wasn't doing anything crazy. I was just in college, studying and literally staying home and like watching movies and stuff. Like that's what I did. But um just I don't know, I guess I was just obviously younger and just I don't know. But that's okay. It's never too late to do what you want to do and to do something that you love and just to be able to invest in a hobby and take care of yourself. And I think that's a really important thing as a mama. It's like I think sometimes we can feel that guilt of like taking care of ourselves or doing things that fill our cup up, but that is so important because when you are able to invest in things that fill your cup up, obviously within limits, not saying like go do a hobby 7 days a week and never see your baby, but when we do things like that to fill our cup up within limits, like it actually is so good for your child, your family, helps them to know that like they can take care of themselves too and that it's important. I need to ask my sister. I know this is so random. I'm like all over the place, but she has made these really pretty garlands out of fabric. She like cuts the fabric and then puts them together, and she has made some really, really pretty ones. And I would love for her to come onto the channel and show us how to make one. I think that would be really fun and just like a nice creative video that we could do together. Make sure this is 7, coming to the end here. Again, I'm cutting myself off. Because the hook I'm using is so big, whenever I like get to the end of a round, it's gonna have to get my hook into that third chain. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Remind you of anything your kids say or kids that you hear say. My husband and I went to Dollywood yesterday by ourselves. We took the day off of work, and I could hear we were on Daredevil Falls at Dollywood, and these little kids had gotten on with us, and they kept saying 6-7, 6-7. And this one guy behind him, they were all together, but they got split up in the little like ride, and the guy behind was like, "Stop saying that!" And he just kept on. He was definitely wanting to let him know that he can say 6-7 if he wants. Funny. Fun to watch kids though, like at Dollywood and places like that. Just enjoy, not like in a creepy way, but it's just fun to watch them like enjoy their day, and they just have so much fun. Makes me excited for our son too. I don't want him to get bigger, but as he gets bigger, of course I do want him to get bigger. It's just hard, but he'll be able to do the same, and that's going to be so sweet. I also probably don't weave in ends necessarily correctly. I try to just like go a few different directions and whatnot, and then I know you probably shouldn't do this, but I tie a knot at the end just because I get so nervous about my projects coming undone. I kind of tie it together, and But okay, and one more end to weave in here. I so appreciate you sticking around with me through this video. This has been so much fun. Hopefully I'll get better at these as we go. But let me know if there's anything specific that you would like to see on the channel. I don't have a large yarn stash, but I think that I am getting for my birthday a organizer cart for it. And so if you would like to see a video of that, I could definitely do that. Like I said, not a huge yarn stash, but it might be fun to see. Let me know. But I hope that you are having a great day. And I appreciate you coming along for PJs and crochet. That's so silly. Okay, well, I hope that you have a great rest of your day. We have all of these granny squares. So now we can I need to get some of the white, and then hopefully I can crank some of those out and then be able to put my blanket together and hopefully give it to my dad this weekend. I feel like it's a big feat to finish, but I'm gonna set my mind to it. We're gonna do it. So anyways, I hope that you have a great day. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.